So section 2 is going to be my health symptom chronology as well as my current health status. And I'm going to start with some general notes before going through the week-by-week symptom breakdown. So since I left the hospital, overall, nights and mornings are the worst for me, symptoms-wise. Whether it's the steroid wearing off throughout the day or the empty stomach, the highest frequency of bowel movements and the most severe symptoms are always late nights and early mornings, and that's true even now. Furthermore, I haven't had any major side effects from taking steroids. Poor sleep and mood swings are the most evident, and for the past couple weeks I've been slowly tapering the dosage of the steroid, and whether or not that's having any negative consequences on my condition is hard to tell because it's difficult to pinpoint with so many factors moving all at once. Also, during the past month, I've been under a lot of additional stress. I had to make the decision to continue to finish out my master's program semester at the University of Florida, which I'll imagine has slowed down some of the healing process to some degree. All right, so now for the week-by-week breakdown. So week 1, I was having 10 to 16 bowel movements a day with very painful cramping at random times, and especially before a bowel movement, mild pain during bowel movements with diarrhea and blood in the stool every single time. The nights were the worst of the worst in the beginning, with almost every hour bowel movements, really painful cramping, and extreme difficulty falling asleep. Whether it was paranoia about having to rush to the bathroom every night, steroids, or stress, during these nights, I was getting less than 4 hours of staggered sleep. However, during the days, I had enough energy to go for short walks and hang out around the house and do homework, but I was still pretty fatigued with lightheadedness when I would go to stand up. I even passed out once, which was kind of scary. So I don't think I was getting enough energy or from food at that time at all. So week 2 is pretty similar to week 1. So I was still having mini bowel movements, painful cramping at random times. However, it was reducing a little bit, as was the pain during the movements. But I was still experiencing painful cramping right before having a bowel movement, and I was still having diarrhea and blood. This week I also introduced taking Benadryl at night, which I feel was positively correlated with falling asleep easier. Unfortunately, nighttime bathroom runs were still very frequent. I had a meeting with my doctor during this week, and he was surprised how much strength I had still, from a muscular standpoint, which was cool. However, he was not happy to hear I was still having relatively high bowel frequency and blood in the stools. So we had to have a conversation about exploring other treatments, which at the time is not something I really wanted to do. And so we kind of just were like, let's wait and see how this week turns out. And then I also had my second Remicade infusion that week. During this meeting, the doctor also recommended I reduce fiber by a ton, so I did. And then starting week 3, I was starting to see improvements in blood reduction, but this was also finals week, and also we had a house fire and that I had to help put out, and since we've had to move to a hotel. So basically I was under a ton of stress and had a few setbacks this week regarding my symptoms, but nothing too bad. And then moving into week 4, this was a big progress week for me with a majority of symptoms. Abdominal pain was now at a 0 with no more cramping, and blood had reduced 90%. Still little to no solid stools, and still frequency between 5 and 10 movements a day. So little improvements here, not so much there. So in week 5, the cramping and the abdominal pain was still at a 0, and what used to be severe pain right before a bowel movement was now just a feeling of immediate urgency to use the bathroom with really no pain during the bowel movement itself. Week 5, I also started to see real progress with some bowel movements without any blood, at all, and a loose formation of solid stools forming, which was exciting. Frequency was also improving. There were 2 days where I experienced an 11-hour break between movements during the day. And so I really thought things were turning around for good, but not quite there yet. So now on to my current health status. It has been 39 days since I left the hospital, so I guess a little over a month. I am technically still in a flare. However, symptom severity seems to still be trending in a positive direction. There have been fluctuations here and there, and I'm not really sure of the root causes. For example, after that really good week 5, I've experienced some setbacks this week that I'm still dealing with recovering from. I don't know if it's diet or therapy or what, but I had a bit of a relapse in the blood, in the stool, and the stool quality was back to diarrhea, which is Very, very frustrating. Still no pain or cramping, which seems to be a good sign. And I can tell that most of the stool is without blood, and the blood really only comes towards the very end of the movement and is bright red. So the doc thinks this is like a rectum issue, which is apparently the hardest to heal. That happened for 3 or 4 days and is only now maybe improving, but I think it's too early to tell. I have another doctor's appointment in a few days, perhaps making the call to stay on Remicade or potentially try an alternative treatment. We will see. Still, fingers crossed that everything is 100% better tomorrow, as I think every single day. So now moving on to part 3, which is like medicine and treatments. So I was also put on prednisone, a steroid, doing 40 milligrams a day, 20 milligrams twice daily. And then on the 12th of December, I was tapered down to 30 milligrams, taking it all in the mornings. And right now I'm on 20 milligrams, taking it all in the mornings. So I am certainly tapering off there. In terms of efficacy, the steroid seems to really help me out a lot during the day. I take it in the mornings, and from like 10 a.m., I can go like 5 to 6 to 10 hours without having to use the bathroom, but generally like around 7, I'll have to go again. I was also given an anti-cramping medication. It was just like one of those under the tongue dissolve things. I could take it every 4 hours, and whether it was chemically effective or the placebo gave me some kind of peace of mind, I would take it like right before bed, or if I had to get in the car and go to an appointment. I have not taken it for probably 3 weeks now, as the cramping is no longer a symptom for me, but I did feel that it was effective during the time that I took this little dissolvable thing. My doc also prescribed me a enema, and so I had to do that every night, which was a lot of fun. At first, I struggled to keep it in, and it would just like come out like 10-15 minutes later, if not immediately. But over time, I was able to keep it in for at least a few hours throughout the night. I never was able to go the whole night with it. In terms of efficacy, once again, hard to tell how much it was helping. There were so many factors and there's so much change all the time. So I took it while it was prescribed, and now that I'm not on it, I'm not taking it, and it's just figuring out if it was working or not is tricky. So the biggest thing I've got going on is Remicade, and Remicade is my prescribed immunosuppressant treatment. It is an IV infusion, so I have to go to the hospital infusion center to get it done. I think I'll make a separate video about that. So anyway, I've had 3 Remicade infusion rounds, including the hospital. And in terms of efficacy, I'm not completely healed yet, but a lot of my symptoms have reduced. So I'm just kind of dealing with frequency and diarrhea and blood still, but the pain is gone. So is this how much the doctor wants it to be improved at this point? We will see. I have an appointment tomorrow, and then the decision there will be made whether or not Remicade has failed or if I'm going to stay on it. So I don't know. We will see. I mean, I feel overall, since I left the hospital, I feel a lot better, but we're not quite there yet. All right, so now for section 4, diet progression. And this one is tough because diet, I think, is like the trickiest thing with ulcerative colitis, at least in my experience so far. Trying to figure out what works and what doesn't has just been a nightmare, and foods are all over the place. And I'm constantly trying to experiment, and I never feel like I have enough time to experiment with a certain food before moving on to something else. So I'm gonna do my best. Anyway, I've been tracking my food with the free Under Armour food tracking app. It's able to scan labels for convenience and show calories and shows general nutrition profiles. So I try to do that a lot, and I would say I'm about 80% consistent with updating it daily. And at first, my calories goal was set to like 2,600 in an attempt to keep some of my energy and put some weight back on. And this is like really, really tough to reach. And many days when I'm trying to recover from experimenting with new foods, I was not able to reach this, but I would often get close. And so leaving the hospital, the dietitian recommended 12 to 14 grams of fiber a day. So much of my diet strategy revolved around remaining under this fiber limit while still getting in my calories, which proved to be incredibly difficult, especially since in the beginning, there is so much uncertainty around what foods are working for you and which ones are not, as I'm sure you know. In terms of supplements, I am taking like a chewable multivitamin as well as a probiotic, as well as some other supplements like whole food supplements that were recommended by like a holistic dietitian family friend. Whether those are working or not, I'm really not sure. In terms of liquid, I'm drinking a lot of Gatorade G2 mixed with water. I'm drinking G2 because I don't really want all the sugar, and I'm mixing it with water because I just feel like Gatorade's kind of heavy on your stomach for some reason because of the, I don't know, the sugar or syrupy thing, like vibe to it. In the beginning for breakfast, I was doing like a non-fat Greek yogurt or like Fairlife lactose-free whole milk with no sugar added applesauce, maybe half a banana, some whey protein isolate, and Rice Krispies. So that'd be like a breakfast. And then I would also like do eggs in the eggs for breakfast with maybe some like chicken or turkey. I had like a lot of bagels in the beginning and dinner rolls and toast. So those like white breads like with like low fiber. I was doing Skippy peanut butter because it was the lowest fiber, but have since been advised against that just because of all the extra crap that's in that peanut butter. Scrambled eggs is a big thing that I eat quite often in the beginning as well. I was doing some white pastas in the beginning, but I'm not doing those anymore. Salmon, chicken, turkey, bone broth, mashed potatoes, occasionally rice in the beginning. I've cut out mashed potatoes, even though they're good. I'm trying to reduce fiber. I'm still doing salmon, chicken, not so much turkey, and bone broth is a huge thing. I do a ton of bone broth. During the beginning, I also tried drinking oat milk and tried drinking coconut milk, but didn't stick with those because I didn't feel like they were vibing very well with me. 3/4 of the way through week 2, I met with my doctor and things weren't going well, so he recommended, as I mentioned earlier, trying to reduce fiber even more. So I was like cut down to less than 5 grams. So he also recommended adding Ensure Boost, like those supplement drinks for nutrients and calories. So I was doing a lot of those. I was like trying to do like 2 to 3 of those a day just to get all of the calories and the nutrients. However, I'm not doing them as much anymore just because they're quite heavy, and even if I dilute them, I just feel like they don't work with my stomach very well. So I wish they did, but they really don't. So I've kind of stopped. Also around this like week 2, week 3 time, I started juicing cabbage. Just like 1 cup, 8 to 16 ounces a day, often with a little bit of ginger juiced in as well. And now I'm not following as heavy of a regimen as suggested by people online based on some of the studies that are out there, but it does seem to be beneficial the way I'm doing it, so I'm just kind of sticking with it. But generally my main driver for the day, especially right now and starting probably week 3 and on, is I'll do like 1 cup of jasmine rice, 1 cup of organic bone broth, 1 serving of shredded chicken or salmon with maybe some saltine crackers or a piece of sourdough toast. So during week 5, when things seemed like they were clearing up, I think we rushed expanding my diet a little bit too much to include some more well-cooked vegetables and some other vegetables like carrots. So carrots for most people are very, very good. For me, like raw carrots really don't work with me very well, and I think that the cooked carrots, something about them isn't working for me as well. I think that's very much an individual thing, but I'm not doing cooked carrots. I also tried adding in more coconut products for the healthy fats. Did not feel well about this at all. My body, I was not doing well for a couple days. And so I stopped, and then I met with a dietitian a little bit later and learned about some research supporting coconut and thickening agents in coconut milk being associated with inflammation, so no more coconut for me. I've since taken out the lactose-free milk and Ensure supplement drinks like I mentioned. So currently I'm trying to be more on low fiber, but also figuring out a way to include a higher variety of fruits and vegetables, and I'm doing this right now through baby food puree. So that is like, it's very smooth, it's apparently works for some people, and this was recommended by someone who does research on these types of diseases. And then anyway, the main driver is still gonna be salmon, chicken, rice, bone broth, sourdough toast, eggs, and olive oil. So those are my main food groups right now, including the baby food puree. So far it's feeling good, but it's all a balancing act, and only time will tell what works moving forward. So yeah. All right, folks, well, that wraps up this video. Thank you for watching. I hope that just listening to me go through what I've been doing has been helpful in any way. Like I said, please share your story. Please give your name and let me know what's up with you, what your life has been like dealing with ulcerative colitis, what foods are working for you, what's not working for you, what regimens you're on, what treatments have been working or not working. Like I said, I'm trying to absorb as much information as I possibly can myself. So check out my other videos on ulcerative colitis if those happen in the future. But thank you for watching. If you got value from this video, please leave a thumbs up, and I hope that things work out for you fast. I hope that things work out for us all fast, because this stuff kind of sucks. but we're gonna get through it, so no stress there. Stay positive. Don't eat raw spinach. Goodbye.